Hello guys, today we're going to read this funny story of and running. Okay, let's start. Miata Ramirez is running for 5th grade class president with her best friend Anna as her running mate. Also running is Rudy Herrera with his friend Alex. Miata has good ideas to improve the school, but Rudy is funny and popular. It will be a close race, but both students try to convince their classmates to vote for them when election speeches are held in front of the entire class. Miata scanned the audience sitting on the floor in the multi-purpose room, which was still decorated with banners for the 16th of September, Mexican Independence Day. The heads of the 5th graders wagged like apples on a branch. Miata was nervous about the debate, but this was her big chance to tell the students why they should vote for her and not for Rudy. Miata looked at Rudy sitting next to her. She could see that he was chewing gum, which was against school rules. He was smacking his lips and waving the boys in the audience, blowing a bubble. Rudy turned to Miata. The bubble grew as large as a fist and popped like a fist in a baseball glove. He laughed and asked, "You want some gum?" "No, it's against school rules," Miata said. "I'm not going to get in trouble just before elections." "Oh yeah, that's right," Rudy said. He swallowed the bubble gum and opened his mouth like an alligator. His throat blurred. Ah! He closed his mouth and said, "See, it's all gone." "That's ugly, Rudy." Miata grimaced. Rudy shrugged his shoulders. He turned his attention to the audience. Someone was yelling at Rudy to ask if he wanted to change his sandwich for a burrito during lunch. Rudy gave him a thumbs up response. Miata's nervous knees shivered and the lines on her palms ran with sticky sweat. She looked down at the 5 Miata and Anna badges on the front of her blouse. Earlier they had seemed so neat, but now they just got in her way. "People, 5th graders, let's settle down," Mrs. Catillo, the vice principal, yelled above the noise. She repeated her command as gradually the bobbing head stopped moving. "Yeah, let's knock it off," Rudy yelled, getting to his feet. His gaze looked on 2 boys who were pushing each other. "Carlos, leave Jaime alone. Save it for the playground." Carlos stopped shoving his friend and sat up as straight as an angle, which he was not. That's better, Rudy said. He then returned to his seat. Thank you, Rudy, Mrs. Castillo said. No problem, he said. Mrs. Castillo turned to Miata and, with a smile, said sweetly, We're going to hear from Miata first, in room 6. Let's hear what she has to say. Okay. There was light applause as Miata rose from her chair and approached the podium. She climbed into a box that was set there for her. She adjusted the microphone. Good morning, Miata said. It's almost afternoon, Carlos yelled. Miata looked at the clock on the wall and then at Carlos. She decided to ignore him. She continued, with a bright chime in her voice, I'm seeking your votes next Tuesday. I want to be your president. President of the United States. President of the United States, Carlos yelled through the funnel of his hands. With that, Mrs. Castillo, now stern-faced, shook a finger at him. He returned to sitting as straight as an eagle. Miata breathed in as she gathered strength. She inflated her lungs and boom. If elected, I plan to beautifully the school grounds. I want to get rid of all the color graffiti and put some flowers in by our 5th grade rooms. Some of the students, mostly girls, applauded. I'm sure you're tired of cochino looking school. Miata boomed even louder. There was more applause, but not enough to make confident. She eyed Anna in the audience. Anna hadn't clapped that hard. Miata clicked her tongue and thought, Come on, Anna, let's get with it. Those are good ideas, Anna remarked, not too bravely. She looked around at the audience. No one was applauding. Miata paused somewhat, shaken. She had practiced with Anna on the school grounds, but Anna on the school grounds, but now behind the podium, the words didn't seem that powerful. I plan to get parents involved. Miata continued. I want them to help with the cleanup. Only one student applauded. It was Carlos. He was applauding as hard as rain on a car roof. He wouldn't stop until Mrs. Castillo beckoned him with a finger. He was being called out of the room. He rose to his feet and said, I'll vote for you, Miata. You're nicer. Then, looking at Rudy, Carlos stepped over his classmates sitting on the floor. Nah, I better vote for Rudy. I owe him a quarter. He was prodded from the multi-purpose room toward the principal's office. Just think, Miata said. Her voice weak. She was losing her confidence. We can put some really nice azaleas and pansies outside our windows. The walls will be all clean, not like they are now. She looked at her scribbled notes, then up toward the audience. It'll be work, but we can do it. The audience scrunched up their faces. And I have plans for a school trip, Miyata countered quickly, sensing that she was losing her listeners. And I have a fundraising idea for how we can get computers. The audience yawned. Two buzzers that said vote for Miyata, and Anna sank down. Ah. I have a question, a boy said, his hand as tall as a spear. Yes? Are we gonna get paid to work? His face was lit with a grin. He knew he was being silly. No, we're not getting paid. It's for our school, the students muttered, but applauded lightly. A few of the posters went up again. In a rattle, but quickly sank down. Please think of me when you vote on Tuesday, Miyata said. Her voice was now as faint as baby bird's chirp. She sat down exhausted. She wanted to shake her head in defeat, but knew that she had to sit up bravely. She waved at the audience, but only a few students waved back. Not one of them was a boy. Then Rudy stood up. He approached the podium and leaped up onto the box. Hey, I like this, he laughed as he held onto the podium. He wobbled the box and said, "It's like a skateboard." The audience laughed. From where she sat, Miyata could the audience laugh. See that more than one boy was chewing bubble gum. Rudy then became serious. He looked at Miyata and said, "She's got some ideas. Miyata would make a good press, but I think I would make a truly great one." The audience laughed. And you know why?" asked Rudy. "Why?" some of the boys in the audience repeated. Rudy turned a cupped ear to the audience. "I can't hear you." "Why?" yelled a mixed group of boys and girls. "Still can't hear you," Rudy smiled. "Why?" the entire audience yelled. Rudy nodded his head, smiling. He had their attention. "It's because I'm going to work to get us more recess time." The audience applauded and chanted, "More recess, more recess, more recess." "Yeah, gent. Instead of just 15 minutes, I'm going to ask the principal for 20 at least. Maybe even half an hour. Homeboys." "Why not an hour?" someone yelled from the audience. "We can push our luck, dude. Rudy responded. Miyata wanted to cover her face. It was obvious that the audience was siding with Rudy. Rudy raised his hands and asked for silence. Plus, he continued as he slowly scanned the audience. Plus, I'm going to ask for ice cream day every day, not just on Fridays. The audience roared as Rudy wobbled the box and then jumped off. He returned to his seat, pushing a fresh piece of bubble gum into his mouth. After school, she returned home and started her homework behind the closed door of her bedroom. But her mind stalled. She kept looking at the photo of herself taken in Mexico when she was 5 years old. She was on a pony. Her smile was big and her eyes lit with happiness. That was fun, she whispered as she remembered how her Uncle George led her around the yard. At the time she had had thought that she was going really fast, but now she knew that it must have been slower than a trot. Miyata put down her homework and looked in her scrapbook at her dad's family in Mexico, her grandparents and uncles and aunts. They all lived north of Guadalajara on a rancho. Her dad came home. I found something at the work. What? A most unusual thing. A most unusual thing. What is it? Tell me. He was holding a small box in his hand. It scared me when I found it. Her father's face was dark with worry and dust from his long hours at work. Miyata furrowed her brow. She was curious. Slowly her father lifted the lid from the box. Miyata peeked in, standing on her tiptoes. In it stood an adult index finger. Whoa! That was as gnarled as a root. She eyed her father and clicked her tongue. Where do you think it came from, Miyata? Her father asked seriously. He pet the finger with his free hand. From your left hand, puppy, Miyata answered, hands on her hips. That's where it came from. A sudden smile brightened his face. He wiggled the finger in the box and screamed, Aye, it's coming alive. I better put it down the garbage disposal. He ran out to the kitchen, laughing, and Miyata followed her father, but the only got himself another glass of water. Dad? Miyata asked, tucking his large work-stained hand into hers. Yeah, Miyata, he whispered, his mouth with the back of his free hand. Do you think I should run for office? She hesitated, and then continued, I mean, I'm not as popular as Rudy or his friend Alex. Well, popularity is one thing, but service is another. Miata shook her head. She was confused. I mean, it's okay to have a lot of people who like you, but it's far better to help people to get things done. He gave her a light hug. Don't worry, just go for it. If it doesn't happen, pause. You can still do good. Miata liked that. She had plans for the school, and they were good ones. The end.